Greetings, listeners. We're back for the last session today, session 84 on the Science is the New Religion script. And Michael and I have not been meeting for, I think, a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken. And there's a lot to cover in this series, and it might be coming to an end. We might revisit it. I don't know in the future. But Michael has labored very hard to produce this script, and it has really opened some doors for all of us, I think, Michael. And we're very appreciative of your research, and looking forward to the next task we have, or a series of tasks, so to speak. And I want to thank everyone for their support. And Michael, welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Brett. Hello, dear listeners. I just want to point out, yeah, there will be some more sessions, but not in that, not that frequently. So I have to do more research, and I got a special request from a supporter who wants me to go into a special item, and I will do so, but I need for a couple of weeks to do so. So this is just the thing that is coming up here in between, and the Science is the New Religion series we will do more sessions in the future, and we will concentrate a bit more on the Bible in the future. And so there you go. This is session 84. I have named that session Science, senses or senseless. Yeah, you see that here are people gathering. They are submitting their brain to the god of science. Science here depicted with the microscope, which is far more sophisticated than any human senses. Yeah, so the question is, what is science up to? Because we have done 83 studies on science so far. But what actually is science all about? And to me, to have a summation, or to summarize it right from the start, I think it is the counter-reformation, that actually the church is using the science, or the science so-called, to distract the people. And that's nothing new, of course, but maybe we have to see another approach of it, that people are really sacrificing their brain. And that is the current situation out there, that people are being shut down if they have some own clues, because they have to submit to science. And I don't think that is a coincidence that all these people here are wearing masks. Yeah, so I think that,
never mind, the sky is dark as all can be. Like the storm is coming, it's about to hit. So yeah, you know, a storm passes by quickly, Michael. But yeah, there's a lot to be said in this picture, right? That is a current situation we're in. Yes.
Yeah, in Germany you have a saying that all good comes from above, but you see that also Satan is the prince of the power of the air, so that does not fit. No? Not all the good things are coming from above. There are evil spirits, and they're having a good time at the moment, I think. So question is, has it something to do with senses? What is a sense? What does make sense, or is it senseless? So sense is the meaning of the etymology. Sense is the meaning of etymology, a faculty of perception, the meaning, import, or interpretation, especially of Holy Scripture. Aha, so that makes sense. In Old French, it means one of the 5 senses of the human body, meaning, wit, understanding, or directly from Latin sensus, perception, feeling, undertaking, meaning. Aha, very interesting. So what are the 5 senses? If I look upon Wikipedia, it tells me that a sense is a biological system used by an organism for sensation, the process of gathering information about the world and responding to stimuli. For example, in the human body, the brain receives a signal from the senses, which continuously receive information from the environment, interpret these signals, and causes the body to respond either chemically or physically. Or mentally, I think, or are we brainless people here? Have we also submit our brain to science here, or what? Although traditionally around 5 human senses were known, namely sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing, it is now recognized that there are many more. Aha. Oh, ask psychology break. Yeah, they will come up with so many unconsciousness and egos and all their concepts. Yeah, so this refers to Alina Bradford, The 5 and More Senses on Life Science, which is quite recent, on the 16th of June 2021. Aha, what does that lead us to? The 5 and more senses. Oh, so the 5 and more senses. Touch is the first sense. Sight is the second sense. It's quite obvious what it is. Hearing, of course, smell, smelling, taste. And in addition to the traditional big 5, there is another sense that deals with how your brain understands where your body is in space. Okay, great. Science, huh? This sense is called proprioception. Includes the sense of movement and position of our limbs and muscles. Aha. Additional senses and variations. That's very interesting that Wikipedia, as a general encyclopedia, is quoting here an article of 2021. But I think that is not truth here, that is opinion. Don't know what you think of that, but I think that is opinion here. Everybody can come up with anything, which is just why Alina Bradford is smiling here into the camera and is a life science contributor. It doesn't mean that she has eaten up all the knowledge of the world and is absolutely right. Maybe it's just their relative standpoint, it's just their opinion. But I find that very strange that Wikipedia on that behalf here is quoting somebody who has just an opinion. Yeah, so that are the 5 senses. So sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing. And now if I compare that to the very first picture, actually, about that science in that microscope, you see that science provides us with tools who are far more, quote unquote, sophisticated than the human senses or the human body can offer. The question is that if God has created us, which he did, why didn't he give us a microscope? Why didn't he give us a telescope? Huh? I think that because it's not necessary to make it in this world. You see that these are things, then the science tools, if you think about that, maybe dear listeners, the science tools are meant to eradicate the people. So that means that science is much more clever, more intelligent, more meaningful, and more sophisticated than man. Yeah, so that I have a hard time in believing that we really need microscopes and all the things to make it in this world. So these are invented tools that shall make us more or less obsolete, that we are just users, but that our senses are so primitive that we need science to figure everything out. Of course, if you cannot see right, then glasses are very welcome. Yeah, that's not what I meant. What I mean is that science has a much more approach and much more importance today than our general reason, and that our logic and our morals. Yeah, so they are using these tools and they claim there is something that only they can see. Yeah, think of the actual situation out there. There is something that only they can see, which is dangerous, harmful, catastrophic, and all over the place. Yeah, you cannot get it with your senses, which means this is a religion because you have to believe them who are in the possession of these tools. It's the same with other things around. Of course, you cannot see the radio waves, for example, but you know they have to exist, or there is something which exists because you see that the radio is functioning, so that works. But here you have to believe something because science, the big God of science, is demanding that you obey the God of science and that you then believe everything they point out right in your face because you cannot get it with your senses, which have been given to you by God. That's my point. So they come up with all the things that, oh yeah, you cannot prove that there are certain microbes out there because you cannot see them. So you cannot prove that something happened on Mars yesterday because you cannot see so far. Even with a telescope, you can't see so far in detail. So you have to believe all the people who have these specially high skilled and of course very expensive tools. So there is an elite which is controlling your thinking, because you cannot argue against it, because you don't have the tools. They have the tools and they claim it is so and so and so. Then this is a scientific, more or less, a dictatorship. Okay, this is sense. What does the Bible mean of sense? We know that there are 5 human senses, which we have just learned about. So in Nehemiah, sense has been depicted here. Would you like to read it, Brad?
Sure. Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 8 reads, "So they read in the book in the law of God distinctly and gave the sense and caused them to understand the reading."
Mm-hmm. This is the only time when sense has been mentioning here in the King James Bible, Brad.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so this is Hebrews 7:9-2, which means sekel, from intelligence, by implication, success, discretion, knowledge, policy, prudence, sense, understanding, wisdom, wise. I'd say it has been used in a very positive content here. Yeah, so that means that gave the sense in the law of God distinctly and gave the sense and caused them to understand. That means that they have been giving the sense to understand. Yeah, so there are senses, and there is more or less a special sense which enables you to understand the law of God or the book of God, God's message, God's work. There is a special sense. So you see that not many people understand the Holy Scriptures. Not implying that I understand everything perfectly. I'm far from that. But my point is that only few people are busy with reading the Bible and going into this and doing Bible session, etc. So that the majority of people does not care about the Bible, because it is, for them, it is absolutely senseless, because they got not the sense. They have not the Holy Spirit. They have no guidance. And so they cannot understand, because it has been depicted here in Nehemiah that only if you have the sense, you can understand the reading.
That's very interesting, Michael. It's like what I was explaining to a young work companion of mine recently is, if you don't understand something, how can you believe it?
Mm-hmm.
It's just that simple. Mm-hmm. It's nothing fancy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the entire chapter of Nehemiah 8. Yeah, and you see this is the sense being mentioned here. Yeah, it is. You see that the context is they cause the people to understand the law. It is all over the place. It has to do about understanding the law, understanding God's words.
That's right.
So that's it. That's it gave the sense. So you have to have the sense. Otherwise, the Bible, the scripture for you, is absolutely senseless, pointless. If you have not the sense to read that, and it's nothing to do with your eyes or with your speech or what else, if you don't see any sense in doing so, you don't have the sense to understand it. So that we have to pray that everybody who is dear to you, dear listeners, will receive the sense in understanding God's word. That would also mean that that is also one of the reasons why not the majority of people is listening to Bible studies, but on something, entertainment, distraction on the telephone. Yeah, because that is much more to their senses or to their taste. Yeah, but here sense has something to do with wisdom and something to do with understanding and knowledge. Yeah, you know that science also is a term for knowledge. Yeah, so sense in a way of understanding scriptures. So you don't have only 5 senses. There must be something more to it. There must be a sense in you, if you are a real reborn Christian, to understand the reading, to understand the scriptures, meaning that God gave you a special sense to understand. And that is in my humble opinion, that is the comforter, which will lead you in all truth. That is the Holy Spirit. It is not in your possession, but it has been given to you as an assistant. And so if you use that sense in understanding the scriptures, you are using the Holy Spirit. You are, or in other terms, the Holy Spirit is guiding you. But you have to have a sense in receiving this kind of truth, because otherwise you're not interested in it, you're not concentrating, and you cannot understand the language. Because the sense is missing. For these people, for the majority of people on the broad way which leaded to destruction, it's absolutely senseless. Because they don't have the sense. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, sense, what I have pictured here in the where are you? Yeah, what here? This is just about physical things, yeah? This is just about physical things. It is sight, smell, touch, taste, and hearing. Where is the brain? Where is something of spiritual things here? You don't see it. It's just the 5 human senses. You see, they only are being busy with the physical things in your body. You are your brainless piece of material. That's it. And this is, if you like to say so, this is materialism, or this is just that you have to be seen as not a spiritual being, but just as a production machine. Yeah, something not a life form, but just some life form, but it's not as a divine being, not as a spiritual being. Yeah, you're just a functioning. What else? Yeah? But for me, it is fundamental that we really understand that it's not the signal connection and transduction which has been here depicted by a brain in processing, in understanding and learning, but this is not part of the so-called 5 senses. But you see, where is the sense in the 5 senses? You only can see, smell, touch, taste, or hear anything if your brain is receiving something, because that you can smell something, but to decide which is which kind of smell it is, you need your brain to think. So the brain of thinking is also a sense, and so that is senseless to point out to people who are absolutely unbelieving in that we are spiritual beings. So there must be much more to it, which of course is not of interest for Wikipedia in general, not of interest. So there are sensory cells, and you're free to go that path on sensory organs. But in my humble opinion, it is a very, 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 very complicated matter. You see that all these things are coming up. Okay, this is the psychology, of course, which is here depicting the symbol of Neptune or Poseidon on that regard, and he's also the god of dreams and all the things, and the god of deception and so many things. It's just deception. They cannot talk about anything divine. No missing anything God. No missing anything spiritual. It's also missing. So they only stick with their physical things. It's just simple biology, as if we would be some kind of matter. Okay, let's move on. Therefore, as science sees you, that you just consist of some senses and a brain which is processing all that senses, I have a hard problem imagining that science has something to do with morals, because I think that science has been used nowadays to control the people in very broad terms, because it lacks moral. Because if we have been depicted as some matter with a brain, or some useful tools, or some functioning organisms, but not as divine and spiritual beings, then we can not only be manipulating, but you see the morals are missing, because we are being judged by science as just organism and not as a moral being, and not as a ethic thinking, but just at the age of reason. And now you can imagine yourself which direction I'm heading to, at the age of reason, so that everything has to be reasonable. It does not matter what kind of a divine being you are. You have just to function in a society. It is just your function in a society, which is then the value of it all. And the age of reason says that, oh, it has been reasonable. Every decision has to be reasonable. It has nothing to do with your individual situation, but it is about society. It is about that what your support is and what your function is in a society. So that is more or less the death and the killing of the individual. And why did I come up with the Freemasons, with Arthur Pike and Morals and Dogma? Because I think that all these counter-Reformation tools and also these sects, these Freemason tools, these orders, the secret societies, they're just seeing the people as a matter together with brain. That's why they have absolutely no problem in treating people like they are, because they have their own morals and dogma, have nothing to do, of course, with the Bible, which you clearly see in the depiction of the symbol on that cover book of Albert Pike, yeah, with the triangle, with the sun rays, yeah, with the double-headed eagle. Yeah, order up cow means order out of chaos, and what else is it but chaos in the world at the moment? Yeah, but these people depict themselves as wise. In The Secret Destiny of America, Manly P. Hall, as a high-ranking Freemason, is quoting, "There is a legend that in the lost Atlantis stood a great university in which originated most of the arts and sciences of the present race. The university was in the form of an immense pyramid with many galleries and corridors, and on the top was an observatory for the study of the stars." And maybe then you have the clue where the origin of your backside of the dollar bill has come from. That's most likely to do with these ancient cults. It has nothing to do that you will come up frequently and will see frequently pyramids in the United States, or do you, Brad?
Yeah. What about it?
Yeah. Do you think that the pyramid is a symbol for the United States?
No.
Do you come across so many pyramids when you are on a traveling across the countryside?
Well, that's true. It has to do with, of course, the hierarchy, I believe.
Yeah, on the one hand, and on the other hand, you see that if you here have the Novus Ordo Seclorum, Annuit Coptis, it's just coming from Roman history, and so it has something to do with Rome. It has something to do with the old Roman Empire, and one of the first pyramid mentioning was the legend of Atlantis, which would depict a pre-Adamite creation. So there was a creation before Adam and Eve. Yeah, so the great demiurge and blah blah blah. What the Freemasonry is telling you, they cannot prove anything, but people believe in science and the occult, and so the all-seeing eye, which is of course the one-eye God, the incomplete God, which is always a depiction of Satan watching you, because he can watch you because he's a spirit, and he's on top of the pyramid. Of course, Brad's point is very valid when he says this is a pyramidical hierarchy, which has also been very known in Freemasonry, and we know that the American United States have been founded on the base of Freemasonry, with George Washington, for example.
Oh, yeah, religious freedom, Michael.
Yeah, you see here the Roman numerals of the foundation of the United States in 1776, MDCCLXXV1. Yeah, and so you see there the cookie crumbles. Yeah, even they tell you. That was
the same year that the Illuminati started up, wasn't it? Adam Weishaupt's Illuminati.
Yeah, at the age of 24, a Roman Catholic professor at the age of 24.
Right, May 1st, 1776. Yeah.
Yeah, 1776. Yeah, my point is that you really see here that there was Atlantis. There was a great university which has been told to the Freemasonry stuff, that there was a great university in the form of the pyramid, yeah, which means that the pyramid also stands for the enlightened ones, because they are on the top of the pyramid. You see the all-seeing eye there. You don't want to be on the bottom, you want to be on the top. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so the university means that there were the educated people of Atlantis, which never existed. Yeah, nowadays people believe that only if they have a degree somebody has a degree on the university, he's so smart and he's so wise and he can explain you all the secrets in the universe. Yeah, you better believe that it's not the case. Yeah. Also, Manly P. Hall, a 33-degree Freemason, which is more or less an honorary title, according to that video, confessed that successful magicians were aided by demonic entities in his book, The Secret Teaching of All Ages. Let me tell you that if you have seen the complete 83 sessions so far, it is so that nobody can invent something or can come up with an idea unless he's got the support of a spirit, because you need inspiration for that. And so that if you make many inventions, also invention which can shatter the world and go and drive people into believing some fairy tales like Einstein and Georges Lemaitre, you see that all these people were then being inspired by evil spirits, of course, because that is not the truth. Yeah, Jesus Christ is the truth, and Satan is the lie, or the anti-truth, or what else you would like to depict, or the opposite of truth, which is the lie. So if they come up with a dogma, if they come up with an idea, if they come up with an invention, which is a lie in itself, yeah, then they were introduced and guided by evil spirits.
Say, Michael, I have an interesting quote here from the book Code Word Babylon, Danger in the Vatican, chapter 18, which is titled Jesuit Secret Service, the Confessional or the All-Seeing Eye of Rome. And it says about the all-seeing eye here, I can read this quick if you'd like. The all-seeing eye is one of the universal symbols of Freemasonry and of the Jesuits. It owes its origin to the eye of Osiris, or the eye of Hathor, also regarded as a symbol of the eye of Lucifer in occult circles. Rabbi Marvin Aneltman, excuse me, I probably pronounced that wrong, in his book To Eliminate the Opiate states, quote, the all-seeing eye having been associated in pagan rites, that's R-I-T-E-S, also is a symbol of enlightenment because of its association with sun worship. The sun illuminates, unquote. This intensely occult symbol is depicted on some very interesting places, such as Egyptian pyramids, the crests and logos of major corporation, Masonic lodges, Mormon temples, and in satanic books. It can be found, interestingly enough, in many Catholic churches, not least St. Peter's Basilica and other important Catholic cathedrals. Another very interesting place where it can be found is on the back of your American dollar bill. Bam. But there's far more to the all-seeing eye than mere occult symbolism. It is a figura of the intelligence gathering facilities of the most powerful organization on earth, the Jesuit headquarters at Rome. Jesuit Superior General Michael Angelo Tamburini, during a private meeting in 1720 with the Duke of Brissac, vaunted, quote, see my grace, from this room, from this room, I govern not only Paris, but China, not only China, but the whole world, without anyone knowing how it is managed, unquote. You see, these men rule not just their order, but much more besides from their court at Rome. And I'm going to just leave it at that. I mean, we could go on and on and on.
Mhm.
If you'd
Yeah.
like, I can, but I could finish this, but I think we can.
Mhm. Yeah, you see that university means the institution of higher learning, a body of persons constituting a university, from université, university, from medieval Latin universitatem, nominative universitatis, the whole aggregate in Latin, corporate society, from universus, whole, entire, see, universe. Aha. Yeah, that's the thing. So that actually mean that university is an institution of higher learning and comes from universe, means the entire things. Universal, university. And you don't think that, you really think that there are some Protestants universities anymore, huh? When universe especially also points to the Roman Catholic Church, because Catholic means universal. I don't know if etymology knows it. Universalis, yeah, belonging to all together, entire, universal, yeah. But universal Catholic means universal, and so you got your university, the city of the universe, university. Yeah. Okay, interesting enough that Brett, I don't know if it is suitable if you proceed with reading. I don't know how long the article actually is.
Oh, it's not that much longer. I
Okay.
shut the page, but let me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Get that back here. I think I said. Here we go. I will continue. So I'll go back a couple sentences just so we can. Without anyone knowing how it is managed, you know, that quote, you see these men rule not just their order, but much more besides from their court at Rome. It behooves us, therefore, to know exactly how it is the general is able to achieve this feat, and by what means he governs, quote, the whole world, unquote, without anyone knowing how it is done. It was Sun Tzu who wrote, quote, the general sees all, hears all, does all, and yet in appearance is not involved with anything, unquote. This is the hallmark of the Jesuit general, quote, from this chamber in Rome, unquote, writes Wiley. This is James Aiken Wiley, I believe. Quote, the eye of the general surveys the world. It is to its farthest bounds. There is nothing done in it which he does not see. There is nothing spoken in it which he does not hear. To the general of the Jesuits, the world lies, quote, naked and open. He sees by 1,000 eyes, he hears by 1,000 ears, and when he has a behest to execute, he can select the fittest agent from the innumerable host, all of whom are ready to do his bidding, unquote. The historian René Philip Miller, in his book, The Power and Secret of the Jesuits, confirms that the Jesuit order, quote, is serviced by a most active system of written reports that unites all the various colonies of the Brotherhood of the Jesuits with their headquarters in Rome, unquote. Each Jesuit is required to report to his local superior, and in turn, each superior gives a weekly detailed report to the provincial, who in turn gives a monthly summary report to the Jesuit general in Rome. Superiors are further required to report serious information to the general immediately. And then it goes on with the auricular confession. But I do recommend people get this book, and there's probably a PDF Or no, I think you can actually buy the book directly from P.D. Stewart, if I'm not mistaken, on his website.
Yeah, that is that very book here.
Yeah, luxverbi.org, I think.
Yeah, that's the book that Brett was quoting from, but we have also read together with Jörg, I think it was 3 years ago or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that. And let me show you one thing. If you spoke about 1,000 eyes, what monitor actually means, or to monitor something, it's of course a Latin word. I show that. Monitor. An overseer, instructor, guide, teacher. Yeah, so an overseer, somebody who's higher ranked than you. Yeah, and so monitor, for example, or the term of the one eye or the 1,000 eyes, it's nowadays it's a camera that people are being in public places being surveyed with the use of cameras, which is a one eye symbol. True. I made several sessions about that in German, about television, which means that is a vision from far away. And you see, these are all the eyes, one eye, another eye, etc. It is never two eyes together. It's just only one eye. And this is just the surveillance everywhere, that people are being controlled. Now, of course, for their safety, peace and safety, that's the big goal, yes. Yeah, you see, there are pros and cons, but actually, they don't prevent anything, you see. But it's just also things that you don't be aware of. Maybe some you don't see them that much, but I think that you will see them much more in the future. This is a one-eye symbolism. Okay, so once again, of course, every invention can be used for evil too. And most of the inventions are being used for evil, of course. See that all the ideas you got have been created in your brain. But as far as I'm concerned, you need inspiration. You need a spirit who's guiding you into things. Okay, let's move on. This Albert Pike, a leading Jesuit and, of course, Freemason in the 19th century, declared 3 wars were planned. The final war, which being agitated in the press right now between Jews and Arabs, Lucifer's pure doctrine would be seen. What I think is it's highly likely that something is going on at the moment. That is highly likely that it is the pure Luciferian doctrine, and that is not Sunday worship, because Sunday worship has just been pointed out by the Roman Catholic Church, but it's just a veneration of a day, or in a certain way in the sun god, the veneration.
Yeah, that's the ancient Roman Church, Michael.
Yeah. But you see that this is just a summary which most likely comes up from the Seventh-day Adventists. Nothing against Seventh-day Adventists, but I think they are very, very focused on the Sunday worship. I think there are some more things coming up in the future, but I think that we need some more sessions to go into this. But the third war will be about religion. Yeah, you see, that is my highly estimation. Right. Yeah, so that is about what do you believe, because Satan wants to be worshipped. That's the point. And so he has to control the majority of people, because as in the old times, it is now in the actual situation and will be in the future, that people will be blinded by Satan and blinded by the science of Satan, actually. That's the problem. Yeah. So that people really think they are so smart, they are great thinkers. These are philosophists, anthropologists, and educated people coming from a university, graduated people, and they think that only they have stuffed their brain with much information. The problem is, if the basement of your information is incorrect, like the Big Bang, then the other trees and other branches are also not correct, because it is the general idea which is false. That's a problem. And so that you don't have the compass, you don't know which direction and you think you are smart and you think you are reasonable. But the problem is that if your foundation is corrupt, then also the result must be corrupt. So if they put some corrupt thinking and corrupt science in your head, and you need that and you use that as your basement of, or your foundation of your judgment, then your judgment will be wrong. And also the judgment will harm others instead of helping others. So that is my problem. See, that science does not provide us with truth. Science provides us with doctrine. Yeah, and doctrine without moral, without thinking of people as a higher being, or without people thinking that there is no God, and so that this must crash, of course. Wernher von Braun, the famous NASA chief of staff or developer of the so-called Saturn V rocket, he says, and this is a quote I cannot back up at the moment, but let's take it as granted. He says, science does not have a moral dimension. It is like a knife. If you give it to a surgeon or a murderer, each will use it differently. Yeah, so science for itself, according to the opinion, not an absolute truth, but the opinion of Wernher von Braun, has no moral dimension. So it is just information. It is what the people are doing with that information. So it heavily relies on the people who are using that science, that information, in what kind of doctrine they are to use that kind of information. Do they want to help mankind, or do they want to harm mankind? Do they want to do good things like God, or do they want to do evil things like Satan? And I think that the answer is quite obvious. I think that is quite obvious. Yeah. So for me, science is not immoral. Science is real knowledge, but you cannot have real knowledge if you don't believe in God, because your foundation is corrupt. And therefore you will make wrong decisions on your path, on your life path. Your path of life. You have wrong decisions because you think that, oh yeah, you're so smart, and the world is just a bunch of coincidences, and there is absolutely nothing to worry about because you have to live your life in full bloom. Yeah, I like to say so with all the flowers here. Yeah, but that is not so, because then everybody sees himself just as a subject and as egoistic, and nobody cares about the other. It's just that, oh yeah, I got a pretty wife, and yeah, I stuck to it as long as she's pretty. Yeah, it is just egoism and nothing to do with real love of somebody else. If you really love somebody and somebody gets older and less attractive and more ill, yeah, you stick with it because you love that that girl or that boy or that man or that woman or that grandpa. Yeah, but nowadays it's age of reason. That means that if you don't function in society, you're worthless. They don't care about you as being made in the image of God, but they see you as just a production machine. If you're not productive anymore, if you're too old, if you're sick, and what else, they have to get rid of you because you're just costing money. And you see how evil that conception actually is, and we see that in the near future. We see that in the near future. Yeah, it's all about numbers at the moment. Oh yeah, this number is that high, that number is this high, and that state has that number, and so percent, etc. Nobody talks about the individual or something like this. So that, oh yeah, this woman has to keep up with their 2 jobs and to feed the baby, and this guy is caring for his older parents, and so no, it just numbers. So and so percent of this in Washington State, and so and so. You see, this is all code. This is just numbers. This is just a bunch of mathematics. It had nothing to do actually with science. And of course, I'm referring to the, you guessed it, Georgia Guidestones once again. Yeah, the so-called 10 new commandments, or the 10 commandments of the New Age. Yeah, and somebody had logic thinking here. He depicted here a satanic pentagram, not even a Luciferian, but a satanic pentagram, because the arrow is pointing down. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, God is superstition. Yeah. 666, yeah. Okay, you can use the right symbol in the wrong context, you're free to go. But this is just like the stone the stones that Moses received in Exodus chapter 20, the 10 Commandments. And I think it is not by coincidence that also in Denver International Airport, it's been a so-called stoneware there and very, very strange things with a time capsule, yeah? With a time capsule which shall not be opened until 2094. And I got a problem with that because I don't know if in 2094 everything is okay here or has been crumbled down. So there's a similarity is that in Georgia Guidestones there's also a time capsule. Huh? Interesting. To be opened on, and you see there's a blank space. So we know that the United States were being founded from Freemasons. Yeah, and now compare these Georgia Guidestones with a time capsule. Yeah, time capsule placed 6 feet below the spot on to be opened on. Don't know. Yeah. A small group of Americans who seek the age of reason. Has nothing to do with love, huh? It's the age of reason. Something to do with science, something to do with big numbers, and you have to serve a purpose to exist. It's the age of reason. Yeah, and then you got here this time capsule again on the Denver International Airport. What does the Denver International Airport tell you about your future? Denver International Airport paintings. Yeah, that's your future. That's your future, all together in peace. But the problem is that not all these pictures are very pleasant. Yeah, look at this picture here with somebody with a, what shall it be here, Kalashnikov or so, a weapon, and a sword, which looks more or less like a Arabian sword, yeah, and dressed with a gas mask. And mourning women about their children. So does that depict that there will be death for children for some unknown reason? Has to do something with the gas, maybe, because he's wearing a gas mask. Oh yes, I'm only guessing. I'm not telling out the absolute truth. I'm not God. I just keep my yeah. This is predictive programming as well as the future doesn't look very bright, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Does not look very bright. Now look at the faces of the children. Yeah, this looks like a coffin here. Yeah. Yeah, that's the very picture I meant. Yeah, here the rainbow, which then here is when it reaches the guy, is become transparent without any color. And his sword is pointing towards the dove, and dove is a symbol of peace, usually, and also the Holy Spirit also. Here you see some
rainbow is supposed to be part of the new covenant that God made. Forget now where it is in the New Testament, I believe.
Yeah, and here it is peace, that everybody is and here that soldier is lying down now here, but this is peace. All mankind is celebrating peace. And what is this? Here are these swords also, so they fight maybe for peace. I don't know, but I don't want to go that route. I just want to point out that these 10 new commandments, the age of reason is against this, is the absolute opposite of the love of God, because God says to be fruitful and multiply, and the first commandment of the Georgia Guidestones depict that there is a limit, yeah, where you may not multiply anymore, yeah, under 500 million. That means 93% has to go. I'm relying here on the very first episode of Science is the New Religion to see that science itself is absolutely code. It's just a bunch of numbers, and usually people fall for the foundations, and the foundations are almost always corrupt.
Okay, Michael, it's Genesis chapter 9, verses 12 and 13. And God said, "This is a token of the covenant which I make between me and you, every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth." So, of course, we see the rainbow being used all the time today. And, you know, it's gotten a bad rap, hasn't it?
Was it Genesis 10?
9
9,
verses 12, I think 12 and 13, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this age of reason, you see that it has something to do with being against the commandment of God. Yeah, God says, okay, be fruitful and multiply, but this is the absolute contradiction. Guide reproduction wisely. Yeah, but we know that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and so this is without God. This is science, so-called. This is Romans 1:22. Professing to be wise, they become fools. Yeah, and one new language. You see that that is total contradiction, because in Babel, when the Lord confuses the tongues of the people because they wanted to unite and they wanted to reach the top and they wanted to reach the sky, then he confused their language. And now it is the totally contradiction to the Bible, where the Bible speaks of go in all the directions and be fruitful and multiply. It is here that we have to be controlled, we have to be limited, we have to be controlled, and we have to have one living language. Unite humanity with a living new language. So with one living new language.
You know, Michael, why is it that this monument still stands? Is it because the people are that apathetic in this nation, where they can just let this stuff go? Oh yeah, that's someone else's, it's not mine. I don't need to touch it. I mean, really, you know, this is a spit in the face to America. We should smash this thing into smithereens. All of it.
You see, that is your opinion, Brett, as you are a Bible-believing Christian, but the majority of people, they think this is reasonable. That's a problem.
Yep, you're right. I can't argue with that.
That's actually the problem. So the majority thinks that they were on the moon. The majority thinks that the Big Bang happened. The majority thinks
you're right.
that Einstein is correct. The majority thinks that this is reasonable, etc. That is a problem. And so-called democracy means the ruling of, not the ruling of the people who are religious or so. It just means that it's a ruling that people have to say,
rule. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the rule of people, of the uneducated, actually.
Correct.
Because majority of people only wants to be entertained. They don't want to be educated. They just want to be entertained. You know, that's the problem. They give up their brain for the God of science. And if science tells them that it's reasonable to limit the amount of people on this earth because the earth cannot feed anybody or something like this, has not enough oxygen, has not enough this of that, and etc. And the earth pollution and all the arguments that are coming up, it is A, in total contradiction to the Bible, and B, it is in line with that kind of thinking that the elite, by the use and by the help of science, is putting in the brains of people. That's a problem. Actually, people many people, do not do research, and they are not interested in truth. They are just interested in what's best for them, to their best benefits. There are people here on this earth, they are calling professional murderers or elite soldiers. They are being paid to kill people.
Yeah, mercenaries, Michael.
Yeah, mercenaries and all that stuff, assassins, etc. Yeah, so these people are making high figures of money, but they don't care because they don't have morals, they don't have empathy, they don't care. They're just about me the entire day. And somebody else is having that advantage and saying, okay, you please kill that president, you please do this, and then you get your reward. It's like the 30 coins of silver in the Bible with the Judas Iscariot.
Oh, I'm glad you just brought that up, because I wanted to bring that up about the cover for Morals and Dogma, because I might be mistaken, but it looks to me like there's 30 stars under the wings of that two-headed eagle. So, yeah, 30 pieces.
Okay. So for the introduction page. Okay, I see. Yeah. Yeah, you see this is a set of 10 guidelines. What do you think that is a coincidence that there are 10? Could it be 8? Could it be 9 or 12? No, it had to be 10, because it had to be the mocking of the of the stones with the commandments that Moses was receiving on the Mount Zion in the book of Exodus. The 10 guidelines engraved. I got a chat with a German sister, Jasmine, last night, and she told me, do you know what engraved means? Engraved means written in stone, means this is law. Yeah, so that is engraved means on the Gorjak guidestones means that is their law. It is not only guidelines, but law. In 8 different languages, 1 language on each face of the 4 large upright stones. What for? Because you see, they proclaim they have 1 new living language, so that in the end, there will not be Arabic language or Spanish language or what else, but 1 new living language, so that everything means something else. So you cannot criticize anything, according to George Orwell, Eric Arthur Blair, because you don't have any words to express your feelings. Because it is not allowed. You see, that would be hate speech or what else. Yeah, that's the problem. You cannot criticize anybody if you are not allowed to speak, and if you don't have any words for that, then you really have a hard time. You can only do thumbs down or what, I don't know. Yeah, so this is all against the Bible, actually. Now, these are the languages. And now I got one very strange thing. This is just Wikipedia here about the Georgia Guidestones. I have just one interesting things, because the last one is be not cancer on the earth. So that means be not of illness. Yeah, be productive and be not a cancer on the earth. So you have to be productive. They have to have a reason why for your existence, and that's pointing out that I think we have told that last time for the death panel, that you have to they will put you for the trial, and they will ask you to name a reason for your existence, otherwise you'll be terminated. These people think that Terminator is just a movie from Arnold Schwarzenegger. Oh, I don't think so. I think that to terminate has been used also in other contexts of the University of Georgetown about fundamentalists. And if you really like that session here, you are a fundamentalist. You're a Christian fundamentalist. Yeah. So that means be not a cancer on the earth. Then it's we will see what comes up with it, but the Bible is very clear, because these are the 10 commandments in the Bible, or the part of the 10 commandments. It's very clear. Thou shalt not kill. Kill means rachach, means to dash in pieces. That is, kill a human being, especially to murder, put to death, kill, manslay, murder. Yeah. So either by accident or on purpose, or by the order or by the authority of somebody or something. Yeah, you see that it's not allowed to destroy, not a creature of God. Yeah, but people, you see that how many people are there who have absolutely beaten up to death somebody, and all the soldiers are professional murderers. That's their job, to kill somebody. If it is for attack or defense, but it's their job to kill. It's everything against the Bible. And I know why I have come up with soldiers. This is the buckle of a belt of the German so-called Wehrmacht, which was the German army in the Third Reich. You see that swastika, that sun symbol here, that cross. You see that Roman eagle here, and you see here the engraving, which means Gott mit uns, which means God with us. Yeah. So which God they are talking about when they were supposed to kill? Not the God of the living, but the God of the dead, or the God which prefers death, because he can only bring destruction. This is no joke. Voltaire, Jesuitly trained, said if he would destroy the Christian religion, we must first of all destroy man's belief in the Bible. Yeah. And so our media has been controlled, and if the church wants to promote a certain doctrine or a certain scientific theory, they control that with their net of media power. And so that they had a secret treaties in Verona and Vichy, where they said that the issue, the head of the matter is to destroy the Bible, the Protestant Bible. And they tried to use science to destroy the Bible, actually. That's the big thing of it. So the liberty of press is the most powerful means used by the pretended supporters of the right of nations to the detriment of those of princes. The high contracting parties promise reciprocally to adopt all proper measures to suppress it. All proper measures to suppress it. Not only in their own states, but also in the rest of Europe. So valuable and correct information has to be destroyed. Yeah? And people are so ignorant, and we know that ignorance is not a bliss.
That's interesting you bring that up, because isn't that happening now in 2022, right as we speak? This article you just mentioned in the previous slide there.
Yeah, that is just
That's
from
exactly. As it cannot be doubted, excuse me, it cannot be doubted that the liberty of the press is the most powerful means used by the pretended supporters of the rights of nations, the pretended supporters of the rights of nations, to determine those princes, the high contracting parties promise reciprocally to adopt their measures to suppress it. Ah, geez. Not only in their own states, but in the rest of Europe. So yeah, Michael, it all comes back to Europe. That's what we in America really need to know this. It really does. Yeah, it's a secret treaty. You're not supposed to know about it, dear listener.
Sure, but if you speak about America, USA in particular, then there is another quote also of the famous New York journalist. Oh, what's the name now?
Oh, sure.
That journalist, John Swinton, a Scottish-American journalist, the chief editorial writer of the New York Times during the decade of the 1860s, is the chief editorialist of the New York Sun, etc., etc. And he has made a speech there. Before he left the Sun in 1883 to launch a newspaper of his own, he delivered at a press dinner the speech he is most famous for today. Quote, "There is no such a thing in America as an independent press unless it is out in country towns. You are all slaves. You know it, and I know it. There is not one of you who dares to express an honest opinion. If you expressed it, you would know beforehand that it would never appear in print. I am paid $150 for keeping honest opinions out of the paper I am connected with. Others of you are paid similar salaries for doing similar things. If I should allow honest opinions to be printed in one issue of my paper, I would be like Othello for 24 hours. My occupation would be gone. The man who would be so foolish as to write honest opinions would be out on the street hunting for another job. The business of a New York journalist is to distort the truth, to lie outright, to pervert, to vilify, to fawn at the feet of Mammon, and to sell his country and his race for his daily bread, or for what is about the same, his salary. You know this, and I know it, and what foolery to be toasted and quote-unquote independent press. We are the tools and vessels of rich men behind the scenes. We are jumping jacks. They pull the strings and we dance. Our time, our talents, our life, our possibilities, all are the property of other men. We are intellectual prostitutes." Unquote. Speaking of science, what does that tell you? If you have a science magazine or have your highly ambitious theory or a study or something, or a Nobel Prize, there's nobody who can absolutely criticize that, because everything in the media has been controlled. you have to read between the lines, therefore, and to compare things and sources to have rightful meaning, to have established, or to be able to establish your proper opinion about something. For example, here on that Georgia Guidestone, it's been depicted that around the edges of the square are written translations to 4 ancient languages, 1 per edge. Starting from the top and proceeding clockwise, there are Babylonian, Classical Greek, Sanskrit, and Ancient Egyptian. Yeah, why is that? When they are promoting a new living language. Because they rely on the old artifacts, on the old ancient religion, that they don't have to obey God. And they're setting up 10 new guidelines, so-called guidelines, which absolutely, because they are engraved in stone, are their laws at the age of reason. And it's no coincidence that it has been containing Babylonian, because that is the root of Babel, with the Tower of Babel, when they try to be like God, and they try to not to obey the commandments, but they decide on themselves to have one new living language. So it has all been started, and it is all the same thing like in the ancient times. It's the new world order is the old world order. It's just the beginning of Satan worship all over the place. It has nothing to do actually with the Roman Catholic Church. It's just a vehicle. It is Satan which shall be worshipped all over the place, all over the earth. And therefore he has to come up with his own creation, a creation of a new thinking, of a new age, of a new court, of a new laws, and the creation, of course, of new humans, or what else? And people are very ignorant, like in the 1984, when George Orwell says ignorance is bliss. Yeah, you see that if you come up with some real useful inventions, many people said, no thanks, we are too busy.
I love this one. The square wheels.
Would be a good cover, I think, also for a session. Yeah, we are too busy. Yeah. Because you see that these people are here, they cannot think of their own. They don't see the benefit of knowledge, of real knowledge. Yeah, they are too busy because they have to keep up. They are constantly being entertained, and they think that their purpose is to work very hard. And they don't see that if somebody would hand them over a tool, that things would get more fluently. They said, no, sorry, but we are too busy. Yeah, this is ignorance. Ignorance is bliss in our days. You see that, don't just follow the guidelines of the government. Don't think for yourself. Yeah. Yeah, and in contradiction, to sum it up, this is the biblical perspective, because I said that also in science I want to go into the biblical perspective. We know that all these foundations of science nowadays are fraudulent. We know that the Big Bang is a fake. We know that Einstein is a fake. We know that the heliocentric solar system, sun system, is a fake. We know that evolution is a fake. Yeah, but you cannot criticize this because the media is controlled. So nobody hears you. You have to do it. You have to do the research on your own. You have to download each session before it will be deleted. That's my advice for you. And therefore, the contradiction is that there is proof in this world, but of course, it has not been published by the big media corporations. If you go down the path of Ron Wyatt, which I admire very much, because he seems to me like a down-to-earth guy, which made very much inventions, or discoveries, actually, not inventions, sorry, but discoveries here. He discovered the Mount Sinai. He discovered Noah's Ark and many other artifacts. And this is a real deal, the real McCoy. Yeah, not this Albert Einstein, which so-called theories do more harm than anything else. Yeah, and so in this discovery of the Mount Sinai, I think we close the session down, and that we absolutely know that science nowadays, because of the control of the media, is being used to promote their doctrines, to indicate and also to put in the doctrine into mankind that they have to fear for their lives. It's me or you. It's not together that you shall love your neighbor, as in the Bible been depicted by Jesus Christ, but it is just for your egoistic thing, yet either you survive or your neighbor will survive. Because if it goes down to the number of 500 million, then it's you against the others. Yeah, everybody would like to survive, and so the majority of people, they would fight for their life because they are just simply afraid, because they don't have Jesus Christ, they don't have any trust in the God. They are just trusting the doctrine of the scientist, and so that science, in my humble opinion, is a religion, and a very dangerous religion, because it only consists of numbers and so-called facts, or facts so-called, and many errors in it. And so this is not the truth. This is a doctrine. So I would like to close it down. Next time we can go into Ron Wyatt extensively, if you would like to do me so. And this is Exodus chapter 19. And yeah, maybe that Brad is up to read it for us.
Sure. In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. For they were departed from Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness. And there Israel camped before the mount. And Moses went up to God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, when ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. And these are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before all their faces these words which the Lord commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, All that the Lord hath spoken, we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moses told the words of the people unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go unto the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the 3rd day, for the 3rd day the Lord will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, Take heed to yourselves, that ye go not up into the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever toucheth the mount shall be surely put to death. There shall not an hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through, whether it be a beast or a man. It shall not live. When the trumpet soundeth long, they shall come up to the mount. And Moses went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. And he said unto the people, Be ready against the 3rd day, come not at your wives. And it came to pass on the 3rd day in the morning, that there were thunders and lightnings, and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud. exceedingly loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the nether part of the mount. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire, and the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace. The whole mount quaked greatly. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long, and waxed louder and louder, Moses spake, and God answered him by a voice. And the Lord came down upon Mount Sinai, the top of the mount, and the Lord called Moses up to the top of the mount, and Moses went up. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go down, charge the people, lest they break through unto the Lord to gaze, and many of them perish. And let the priests also, which come near to the Lord, sanctify themselves, lest the Lord break forth upon them. And Moses said unto the Lord, The people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for thou chargest us, saying, Set bounds about the mount, and sanctify it. And the Lord said unto him, Away, get thee down, and thou shalt come up, thou and Aaron with thee, but let not the priests and the people break through to come up unto the Lord, lest he break forth upon them. So Moses went down unto the people and spake unto them.
Could have done chapter 20, because you see that, of course, that chapter 20 is then the speech of God when he was ordaining the 10 commandments. Maybe in this next episode we can go into this.
That's great, Michael.
Yeah, but you see that I was just pointing out the Ron Wyatt of the real Mount Sinai with the Jabal Allahs. Although many, of course, renowned historians they say that this is absolutely incorrect. What else shall they say if they are hiding that? You don't find that information about Ron Wyatt usually in the mainstream media. No television director, no television series is pointing it out, and so this is just hidden from plain sight. Yeah, these artifacts are there in Saudi Arabia, for example. The Ark of Noah has been found, but you see that you're living in the Antichrist system, and they try to suppress all the valuable information, where the Ark was and how big it was and where it has been found, when it has been found, by whom it has been found, and etc., etc. There are very few videos about real Christian things, and that really tells a lot when you go down that path, that you really have to look for the truth. They won't show it to you. You really have to look for the truth, but you have to start somewhere, and I can only advise you to start with the Bible, because the Bible not only is the Holy Scripture and the Word of God, but it actually is the historical book. It is a history book. And with that precious and lovely sight, I'd like to close it down and hand it over to my beloved brother Brett. Thanks for having me once again, and I'm looking forward to the next session. Maranatha.
Thank you, Michael. I think we all are, and we'll catch up with you then. God bless. Maranatha.